These are the real numbers behind building an Earthship, and they might shock you. From $10,000 extreme DIY builds to $1 million custom designs, the cost of these passive solar homes varies wildly depending on one crucial factor: how much of the work you're willing to do yourself. Michael Reynolds didn't set out to revolutionize housing when he graduated from the University of Cincinnati in 1969 and moved to Taos, New Mexico. But his radical vision of homes built from recycled tires, bottles, and cans has sparked a global movement that challenges everything we think we know about construction costs and sustainable living. Reynolds' story was documented in the 2007 film Garbage Warrior, which showcased his battle to revolutionize sustainable architecture through what he calls biotecture. Not traditional architecture, but buildings that work like living organisms. An Earthship isn't just an unconventional house, it's a complete life support system. These structures are designed around 6 core principles that work together to create a self-sustaining environment. They use natural and repurposed materials, harness thermal and solar heating and cooling through passive solar design, generate their own electricity through solar and wind power, harvest rainwater, treat sewage on site, and even produce food. The goal is simple yet ambitious: create a home that provides everything for itself by working with the natural phenomena of the planet, eliminating the need for traditional infrastructure. But here's where things get interesting from a cost perspective. Building an Earthship requires about 800 to 900 automobile tires, 2,000 glass bottles, and 10,000 aluminum cans. While these materials might be free from landfills and recycling centers, collecting them takes an enormous amount of time. We're talking hundreds of hours of sourcing, sorting, and transporting materials before you even break ground. Let's start with the most extreme budget builds, because they reveal something fascinating about what's actually possible. In California's Santa Cruz Mountains, one couple managed to build a 560 square foot Earthship for less than $10,000. They lived in a 14-foot yurt while collecting discarded materials and completed most of the work themselves in under a year. Every window and door came free from Craigslist or was found abandoned in the woods. Even their tires were sourced from a cooperative landfill worker who only asked for a big bottle of whiskey in exchange for tire access. This isn't just an isolated success story. A 400 square foot model can be built for around $20,000 using purely salvaged materials if you're willing to commit to extreme DIY construction. But here's what these budget builds really represent. They're essentially full-time jobs disguised as construction projects. You're trading months or years of intensive labor for dramatic cost savings. Moving up the scale, a more realistic DIY approach for a 1,500 square foot Earthship runs between $50,000 and $150,000. This range assumes you're doing most of the construction work yourself, but purchasing some materials new and possibly hiring professionals for specialized systems like plumbing and electrical. At this level, you're looking at costs of roughly $50 to $100 per square foot, which starts to compete favorably with conventional stick frame construction. The labor involved in DIY Earthship construction is unlike anything in traditional home building. Each tire needs to be filled with compacted earth, creating thermal mass that regulates interior temperature. This process, called tire counting, can take 45 minutes to an hour per tire. With several hundred tires needed for a decent-sized wall, you're looking at hundreds of hours of physically demanding work. As one builder put it, in principle, anyone can build an Earthship. If you can pound dirt, you can do it. Problem is, not many can sustain 2 hours of pounding per tire times 900 tires. A completed earth ram tire weighs upwards of 300 pounds, which is why they're constructed in place rather than moved after completion. These earth ram tires create thermal mass walls that provide remarkable temperature regulation. During construction of one Ohio Earthship, builders noted that when the outdoor temperature was negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit, the interior maintained 50 degrees with no sun and no additional heating source. For those who prefer professional construction, the numbers changed dramatically. Michael Reynolds' company, Earthship Biotecture, charges around $225 per square foot for turnkey construction. Reynolds himself states that generally, for a turnkey home, it's right around $180 to $220 per square foot, though some complex builds can reach $275 to $375 per square foot. An average global model Earthship measures 1,700 square feet, which translates to a construction cost of approximately $380 to $2,500 before land. For a 2,000 square foot home built by Earthship Biotecture, you're looking at over $550,000, not including the lot. These figures put professional Earthship construction at a premium compared to conventional homes, which typically costs around $150 per square foot for green building approaches. The design process itself represents a significant expense for custom builds. Initial design work can cost more than $10,000, followed by construction drawings that range from $15,000 to $50,000. Construction drawings for the standard global model Earthship alone can cost up to $10,000. However, Earthship Biotecture also offers standardized design plans starting at $400 and ranging up to $6,995, which Reynolds promotes by saying, "We're always going to try to get people into the standard designs so they don't waste money." Let's examine some real-world case studies that illustrate these cost variations. Nicole Bennett and her husband Chris Plants budgeted approximately $220,000 for their 1,700 square foot home, with higher costs due to hiring contractors for specialized work, like roofing. At Earthship Village, Colorado, near Colorado Springs, homes range from $200,000 to $600,000, and that's before purchasing a lot in the development, which start at $50,000. The Greater World Community in Taos represents the world's largest off-grid legal subdivision. Sitting on 630 acres, just 15 minutes northwest of Taos, this community is platted for 130 homes, with approximately 90 currently completed. Lot sizes vary from 1 to 3 acres, and current listings include a 27 Earthship Way property at $825,000 for a 2,700 square foot home. Land lots start at $75,000 for 1.46 acres, with annual community dues of approximately $175 for road maintenance and community improvements. Recent Earthship sales in Taos range from $399,000 to $900,000 for homes with names like the Atlantis, the Raven, and the Refuge. This brings us to a critical reality check about Earthship costs versus conventional construction. Despite the mythology surrounding ultra-affordable Earthships, the numbers tell a different story. Research found that the resale cost of an Earthship averages $191 per square foot, meaning builders stand to lose up to $34 per square foot if they choose to resell. Any real estate agent in Taos will confirm that it can take 3 years or more to sell an Earthship. According to the research, the net gain on the sale of an average Earthship is negative $57,800. You can potentially lose up to $58,000 on resale. This resale challenge stems from several factors. Earthships often fall outside traditional lending criteria because most lenders prefer predictable, code-compliant homes with market comparables. Construction loans in particular are hard to secure. Most people end up paying cash to build or buy an Earthship because banks aren't familiar with this type of home and have no way of determining value due to limited comparables in most areas. Currently, you can obtain permits to build Earthships in New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Wyoming, Nevada, Colorado, Florida, and Virginia, though building code compliance varies by location. The cost of off-grid systems represents another significant expense category. Rainwater harvesting systems typically cost $500 to $3,000, while greywater treatment systems run $20 to $5,500. In Australia, renewable energy systems, including solar panels, batteries, and inverters, typically cost $30,000 to $40,000, with total off-grid systems reaching $55,000 to $70,000. Wind turbines add initial costs ranging from $3,000 to $10,000, though they reportedly pay for themselves in under 10 years. Plumbing and electrical supplies for DIY installation range from $5,000 to $15,000, though this may require professional consultation for code compliance. But here's where Earthships potentially shine: operating costs. Earthship owners report total yearly utility bills of around $100, using approximately 1/6 the power of a standard home. With the average monthly US electricity bill coming in at around $104, a solar panel system that eliminates grid connection has the potential to save Earthship owners over $200 annually. As Reynolds puts it, an Earthship is a cellular unit that provides everything for itself by encountering the phenomena of the planet. So, there is no need for infrastructure. However, this utopian vision faces real-world challenges. Critics argue that Earthships don't work as intended, particularly outside of New Mexico's specific climate. On gray days, Earthships can become uncomfortably cold without backup heat sources, which is why wood stoves are commonly recommended. One Ohio Earthship builder admitted to struggling with leaks for 20 years. Some architects in New Mexico have consulted on demolitions due to mold problems, noting that many Earthships with north and west-facing entrances become dust and ice magnets and taos. These performance issues contributed to Reynolds losing his New Mexico architecture and construction licenses in 1990, after a year-long dispute with several clients. Though Reynolds stressed the experimental nature of his homes, disillusioned buyers filed lawsuits and complaints over defects like leaky roofs and inadequate climate control. The State Architects Board of New Mexico stripped him of his credentials, which weren't reinstated until 2007, after a 17-year battle. The legal landscape for Earthship construction remains complex. North Carolina's building codes are changing in 22.6 to integrate alternative housing methods that support eco-friendly living, potentially expanding legal construction options. Despite controversies, the Earthship movement continues evolving. Earthship Biotecture's latest model is the Refugee Earthship, designed as the lowest cost option using more universal materials and simplified techniques. A 1,600 square foot refugee model on a 3-acre lot in Greater World Community is currently available for purchase with a 22/6 completion date. For those interested in learning construction techniques, the Earthship Academy offers training programs. Level 2 costs $1,100 plus New Mexico tax, with discounts available for pairs. The Academy has trained over 5,000 students from around the world, spreading Earthship construction knowledge globally. Today, there are Earthship homes in all 50 states and several countries throughout the European Union, with thousands built worldwide, including locations in Canada, Mexico, Bolivia, Japan, South Africa, Honduras, and Belgium. So, what does it really cost to build an Earthship? The honest answer depends entirely on your approach and expectations. If you're willing to commit to extreme DIY construction, source all materials yourself, and invest hundreds of hours of labor, you can potentially build a small Earthship for $20,000 to $50,000. A more realistic DIY approach for a family-sized home ranges from $100,000 to $200,000. Professional construction starts around $180 per square foot and can exceed $400 per square foot for custom designs. The critical insight isn't just about upfront costs, it's about total cost of ownership. While Earthships may cost more to build than conventional homes, they potentially offer significant long-term savings through eliminated utility bills and reduced maintenance costs. The thermal mass created by tire walls helps maintain comfortable temperatures year-round, and integrated systems for water, waste, and energy can eliminate monthly utility payments. But perhaps most importantly, building an Earthship represents a fundamental shift in how we think about housing. Instead of connecting to existing infrastructure, you're creating a self-sustaining system. Instead of consuming resources, you're recycling waste materials into functional architecture. The true cost of an Earthship isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in environmental impact, energy independence, and the satisfaction of creating something genuinely innovative. Whether that trade-off makes financial sense depends on your priorities, skills, and long-term vision for sustainable living. The numbers are clear. Earthships aren't automatically cheaper than conventional construction, but they offer something conventional homes cannot: the possibility of true self-sufficiency in an increasingly uncertain world.